Hello everyone. I'm going to start this out by saying that I am really not that comfortable doing videos like this, so bear with me. I will try to do my best to make it not weird. Um, it's been suggested to me that I do a YouTube video or channel for my craft and my spiritual journey. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. Just never really knew what I would say in my videos. I'm not really sure if anyone even would watch or would care. Um, but through my spiritual awakening and stuff like that, kind of feels like it's the next step for me to kind of share everything, put it all out there, and who knows, maybe I'll help somebody else along the way. Um, So yeah, let's start with how I kind of got into all of this. Um, for me personally, okay, so I was adopted into a very, very Catholic household, Roman Catholic, so like the oldest of the Catholic faiths. Um, it never felt right to me. I never liked it. I don't know, it just felt very constricting. It felt very like, don't do this or you'll go to hell, or you can only get to heaven if you do this. And I mean, as a kid, it never really, whatever, right? You're forced to go to church, and whatever, I'd go to church and I'd hate it, and I had to be quiet for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and whatever. But as I got older and I started questioning things, it's when I started realizing that, and this is not to if you're Catholic and that's what you believe, 100% your choice, do you. But for me personally, I've noticed the hypocrisy in the church. I've noticed a lot of, I don't know, you're not allowed to ask questions. If you ask questions, you just get told, it's in the Bible, or, well, just because that's what it is. And it's just, I never got answers. I never got, like, actual answers. And as an adult, I've also realized how much the church itself, not necessarily the religion, but the church, how much it corrupted the original texts of the Bible as well. There's a lot of things that they either took out of context or decided to change the meaning of, things like that. And I'm like, well, if that isn't what the original text said, then why are you preaching this? Etc. Things like that. Anywho, point is, never felt right in the church. Then I always felt different. Best way I can put it. The first experience, I think, that I ever really had where something weird happened and I couldn't explain it was when I was about 12-ish. So I was adopted when I was about 2. And my family lived in Central California. Modesto, that's what it's called. It's a big city in California. And everything was fine there, whatever, just a kid. Then in 96, we moved to a town called Sonora, California. It was founded as a gold mining town. So it's a tiny little area in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas. Beautiful area, like gorgeous. And we lived there for a bit, and then we moved to Twainhart, California, which is a tiny, tiny town. Beautiful though, pine trees and forest and gorgeous. Just a beautiful area. It's about 20 minutes, half hour-ish drive from Sonora. That was when I was about 11 or 12-ish area. It's gorgeous. It's my parents' backyard literally like leads to the forest. Dead end street. Even the neighbors are like like a little bit away. It's not like it's not like right next to each other like in the city. We lived on the dead end street. We're the last house before the cul-de-sac. So I used to go walking through the woods all the time as a kid. I would never go alone because I was terrified of it. I would either go with my friends or I would go with my mom's dog. May he rest in peace. He recently died. And I just loved being out there. But it was always, you never felt alone in the woods. Like, it's really weird. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's because I'm very connected to the earth, so I felt the energy of the trees, or if there was just something else. I don't know. I can't explain it to you, but it's calming. I never felt worried. I was more afraid of like wildlife than of anything else. Um, but so my parents, the street is very curvy, and all of the mailboxes and for our street was down near the beginning of our street. And there was also this other street that kind of did a horseshoe around. It was really weird. I don't know why, but it was called Laramie. And one of my best friends, I only had two girlfriends on my street, and one was two houses down. The other one was on this street called Laramie. And I used to walk down to her house and walk back up it all the time. And one thing you got to understand about the Sierra Nevadas, we have sugar pine trees. Okay, these things are massive. They're huge. If you can go Google it, like they're huge. Their pine cones are literally like, when they're full, they're like this big. They're huge. You can hear these things falling from miles around. It's terrifying when they fall because you don't know where they're coming from. So like the branches, like the first branches of these trees are feet high. Like you can't even grab most of them yourself. And I was walking home once, walking up the hill, and I don't know why, couldn't explain it to you, but I had this feeling like, look up. So I looked up. And way up in this pine tree, sugar pine tree, was a rose. It was kind of like a mix between a red and a pink rose. It was a really pretty rose. But I remember thinking to myself, how did a rose get in the tree? Because that's kind of weird. I don't know. I feel like maybe I couldn't tell if it was real, if it was fake. I don't know. All I know is that there was this rose in a place where not really there shouldn't be one. And I just remember I stopped and I stared at it, and I don't know how long I was staring at it for. I was mesmerized by it. I was just, what? And as I looked at it, the middle of it started to kind of shine, kind of like a crystal, like you would think of a crystal in a, I don't know, it was like sparkly, and then it started to swirl, kind of like a vortex, sort of. And it was so weird. Like I just remember staring at it, and it was just moving, and it was really cool, but it was really weird. And then I remember realizing that I'd been there staring at it forever, so I left and I went home. And I remember I would check on it pretty much every day. I would because it wasn't a long walk to where the tree was, maybe not even 5-minute walk. So I would walk down, still there, still swirling. And I don't know how long it was there for, until just one day it was gone. I went to go check on it and it wasn't there anymore. And I remember calling my friends down because I thought it was going crazy. I was like, do you guys see this? They saw it too. They're like, yeah, I totally see it. So all three of us did. And the thing is too is like, when I was younger, I had a hard time discerning between, is this real or is this something that we're making up? Because we're kids, right? So there's a lot of things from my past that I know we just made up. For example, me and my friends from school decided that we were the Sailor Scouts, okay? From Sailor Moon. We all had our own powers and we could all do stuff. Okay, obviously, that was just us having fun. Clearly, we're not characters from an anime, even though we believed we were at the time. Like, okay, so yeah, that was just us having fun, obviously. But it was really hard for me because a lot of the things I started to experience, I didn't know if it was just me scaring myself, right? Like, am I just believing it so much that now it's happening and now I'm scaring myself? And now as an adult, and now that I've been on my path for a few years now, I know a lot of it was not just me. It was very real. I will say that was my very first, like, WTF moment. And it just kind of went from there. My parents' house was built in the 70s. Some was just history of my parents' house. there was a couple that lived there, and the husband eventually died. Wife went into hermit mode. Um, she refused to leave the house. She didn't want to leave the house. Um, the because it was, I don't know if it's just because it was built in the 70s, but there was the room downstairs was like the family room, and it was huge. There was a wet bar in there. There was a wood burning stove, half bath, and that's where she hermit herself into. She refused to leave. I mean, it had the wood paneling. It had, the typical 70s, 80s house. Um, but yeah, apparently and of course, all of this stuff I didn't know as a kid. I did not know this stuff until I got older. Um, so that definitely did not influence any of my experiences in the house because I didn't know until I was older. Um, but apparently she had people like her, I don't know if it was her kids or nurses or whatever, but they would come in and they would check on her, bring her food, make sure, she was okay, as okay as she could be. Um, and then she ended up dying in the house, in that room. Which was pretty sad. So as I was growing up, I have 5 older brothers, but only one of them lived with me in that house. He's 8 years older than me. That was his room. Like, of course, he's older. He got the cool room. So my room was upstairs. And this room, to this day, I don't like it. It's hard to explain. Wow, I'm getting tears just thinking about it. My room was right above the garage, right next to the bathroom. Just never felt right in that room. And it's weird because the house itself, it was fine. Like, I never felt alone in that house, ever. Which is weird because middle of the forest, neighbors are like, not very close. You should feel alone. You should feel really alone, actually. You should feel more alone than not alone. And I never did. I never felt threatened. I never felt scared, really. But I never felt alone in that house. Like, I always felt there was something there all the time. That room specifically, hated it. Still don't like it. I went back home for the first time in 10 years, a couple years ago, and it still terrifies me. That is a walk-in closet that I, honest to God, believe is a portal or something. There's just something wrong with that room. I don't know how to explain it. I used to get sleep paralysis all the time in that room. I used to get falling dreams. I used to just feel something in that room all the time. I used to, see things, shadows and stuff. And like, I always told myself it was just, clothes on the bed or, something like that, which sometimes it probably was. But like, I can't explain it to you. That room, there's just something wrong with that room. There's no street lamps on our street. So, the moonlight would always come streaming in. And even though it was pitch black, it was never dark. I don't know. You could just feel that they're just not right. A couple of my experiences I've had in that room when I was growing up. One of them was middle of summer. We were all playing. So there was me and 2 of my girlfriends, and then we had another friend, a boy. We were older, and I'm not proud of it, but we used to kind of bully him a little bit. I feel so bad about it now. Older girls being mean girls. We used to kind of pick on him a lot. We used to like hide from him, and I'm not proud of it. I'm really not. But we were playing hide and go seek one time with him. So me and my friend both hid in the walk-in closet. The light switch was on the outside, so we flipped it off, and we were hiding in there, and thought we found the perfect place. So we're just hanging out in there, and whispering to each other, and middle of summer, middle of the day. So even though we had turned off the light, there's still a little bit of light coming through the bottom. Still didn't like it. Still felt creeped out, and it was my friend, so I'm good, right? And I had this little ceramic heart dish thing that I used to keep water in for my cats. Don't ask me why. I was weird like that. Anywho, so it had a lid, and anytime that the cats weren't in my room, I would put it up on the shelf, so that it was just safe, because it's ceramic. I didn't want it to break, even though it's carpet. So I had it up on the thing, and we're just singing, hanging out, ha ha ha, blah blah blah. Um, and I just remember, and this is one of those times where I don't know if it was us scaring ourselves or if I actually saw it. I couldn't tell you. Um, but she said, she turned around and she kind of jumped, and I was like, what? And she's like, oh, I saw red eyes behind me, and I just turned around and I saw them too. Okay, that honestly could have freaked ourselves out, but a couple minutes later, when something heavy hits the carpet and you can hear it kind of hit the carpet. I heard that behind me, and as soon as I heard that, I felt something wet like splash up on my legs. Summer, so we're wearing shorts and stuff. And I freaked out, so I went and I turned on the light, opened the door, turned on the light, and I looked behind me, and that little ceramic dish that was on the shelf was on the floor. It had fallen, which isn't possible. Like, you would have to knock it off. That freaked us out, and we kind of just left, and we didn't do that again. So that was one of my experiences in there. Red eyes, maybe scaring ourselves, but the thing falling, you'd have to physically do that, and that freaked us out. Another one, and probably the most terrifying experience I've had to date, ever, was, I remember, okay, so I don't like the dark. Still don't like the dark. I'm still terrified of the dark. I don't like the possibilities of what could be hiding in the dark. So I used to leave my hall light on, and then when my parents would go to bed, they'd shut off the hall light. But I'd always wake up, and I'd get freaked out because the light was off. So my mom came up with a plan, to kind of a compromise. She got me a touch lamp, like, a touch on lamp. So if I woke up in the middle of the night and it was dark and I was scared, I could just hit it and it would turn on. And there was 3 separate levels, so I could have it on the lowest level, and it's not too bright, so I could go back to bed, but it was bright enough where I could see everything in my room. So I was like, cool, that's a good compromise. So went to bed. The hall light was on. Parents turned it off in the middle of the night, or before they went to bed. Then I woke up. I think I had to pee or something. It was dark, so I was like, okay, turn on, And I've used the lamp before, multiple times. It was fine. This particular night, I went to go hit it, and it wouldn't turn on. Which I thought was, that's weird. Why isn't it turning on? And so I kept trying, and then I started panicking because now my light's not turning on, and I don't like the dark. So I was like, okay, I'll just book it, because my bed was up against the window over here, and the light switch is way over here on the other side of the room. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna run, and I'm gonna click on my light, I'll be fine. So I went to go run, and I ran into something completely solid in front of me, and I was thrown back to my bed. I'm just like, okay, what? Multiple people have said, oh, maybe you were just, kind of sleepwalking, right? Like maybe you were in between and you weren't quite awake. I'm sorry, but when you wake up and your one source of light doesn't work, and then you run into something solid when there should be nothing there, trust me, I was awake. I was jolted awake. And I just remember I was stunned, and I remember sitting there, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out because something solid is there and it shouldn't be there. There should be nothing there. So I remember I reached out, and it felt like a bookcase. Like if you've ever run your fingers along like books on a bookcase, kind of bumps and bumps and bumps a little bit. And that's what it felt like. And I'm like, what is going on? Why is there a bookcase here? There should be nothing here. And I just remember feeling it, not paying attention to what I'm doing, and I end up falling off like the end of my bed. That panic, because that age I'm still like, what's under my bed? So I jump back on my bed, and I'm like, I just remember huddling myself there, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I'm trapped. I can't get out of my bed. I can't turn on the light. So I remember I felt again, it was still there, and I managed to find right in the middle this slit just big enough that I could shimmy my way through. And I did, and I ran over and I turned on my light, and there was literally nothing there. And to this day, that is still the scariest thing I have ever experienced. I can't explain it. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I still, even though I've done so much research and I've been on this path for about 3 years now, I still can't explain that to you. I still don't know what it was. I still don't know. I can't tell you. I have no idea. It was just something that I experienced that I can't explain. And it just terrifies me. And it was kind of around there that I started realizing, like, okay, there's something else out there. There's something else. There's other dimensions. There's other realms. There's something there. That's probably my scariest moment. And then, so that room, just don't like it. Never have. Eventually, my brother moved out, and I was able to go have his room downstairs. Strangely enough, even though that room terrified, like even though that room is where the woman died, I feel calmer in that room than I ever did in the room upstairs. I don't know why. I can't explain that. I will say, when right about the time that I moved, so I moved from California to Canada. I met a guy, fell in love, moved with him. Stupid move, because I was only 19 years old. But I've never regretted it. I'm still married, been 12 years we're married, 13 years together. Clearly, I made the right call, but at the time was a stupid move. Anywho, so I lived here. I was here for 10 years before I even thought about moving back or visiting. And right around the time that I moved out, my mom decided she was going to renovate that room. She painted over the wood paneling. She ripped out the wet bar. It was linoleum floor, god awful linoleum floor. She put down laminate. It really brightened the room out. It really made it feel very homey. But I really don't think that the woman liked it. I think that she was still there. And I think she got angry that my mom was messing around with her space. The reason I think this is because when I went back down there to visit, the whole family, like my husband, my kids, we all stayed in that room while we were visiting. And I spent the entire time extremely ill. Like verge of puking, kind of sick. And I don't know if it was because of her, because she's angry and I'm a sensitive and I picked up on it. And the reason I didn't pick up on it before is because it hadn't been that long since she had done the renovations, and two, I wasn't honed in to my abilities at the time. I don't know if it was that, or if this is a huge story that I'm not even going to get into. Long story short, me and my mom got in a huge fight before I moved. It involved the cops. It was a big deal. I called them on her. She's a narcissistic victim, so everything's everyone else's fault, not her fault, right? It's a big story. Anywho, that energy is very possible that it's still in that room. So I don't know if it was the lady, if it was the energy from that fight that I was remembering. Combination. I couldn't tell you. All I know is I spent every minute so sick. If I left the room, I'd feel a little bit better. If I left the house, I would feel fine. I was fine. It took a little bit, but the longer I was away from the house, the better I'd feel. I didn't really put that together until after we come back home. So it's definitely the room. Just don't know why. But it goes to show you don't, if you do renovations and stuff to houses where people have died and are still lingering, they can get upset. It's a very real thing. So just find that interesting. Also, there was another house that was like right on the corner, and coincidentally, and I just thought about this today when I was thinking about doing this video, I never put this together before. There was a summer house that was like right on the corner, like, the bend of my street. It was also right across the street from my best friend's house, and coincidentally enough, pretty much right directly across the street from where that rose was. Because that was interesting. I never ever put that together. But this family lived somewhere else and would come up in the summer for like a couple months, and so the house is empty a lot of the time. And I just got this like creepy feeling. I never liked being in that house. There was something weird about it. And I do remember, and it's another one of those things where as an adult I question, whether it was real or not, because your mind can play tricks on you. That's true. Like, you can, especially when you're a kid, you can freak each other out. I'm inclined to believe it was real. My gut tells me it was. But there was this storage area, like, underneath their house. Like a basement, but worse. And it was creepy. And we were never allowed to go in there. The kids weren't. And it was always locked. It was very much locked, very much, you don't go in there, don't even think about it, don't even look at it kind of thing. I assumed it was just because there was lots of, like, dangerous stuff in there. Like tools or whatever, you know, who knows if the floor is going to collapse on you type of thing. I don't know. For whatever reason, we weren't supposed to be in there. And I remember we used to always, like, try to get in there, like, oh, maybe they have it unlocked, because, you know, it's all a kid that can't go somewhere. They want to know why. They want to go do it. I also remember this one time we were trying, you know, we were being kids, and it wasn't opening, and we're like, okay, whatever. And so we went to go walk away, and we heard scratching. And then we heard the doorknob kind of, you know, move from the inside. And I can't remember if we remember hearing it click open or if it did open. I honestly can't remember which. But I do remember it either opened or something, or it unlocked. I think that's what it was. I think we heard it click and we went to go turn it and it was open. And we were so terrified that we ran. And I don't think we ever fucked with that again, to be honest. I don't think we ever even went near that door again. Because, what? So things like that. Things like that is kind of how I got into this whole thing. I just kind of knew. I knew that there was other things out there. I don't know, it was my own experiences, and I've learned over the years to trust my instincts. And, you know, if something feels paranormal or, you know, not of this world, so to speak, then it probably isn't. It's probably something else. And it's hard because I found from talking to lots of people, that's one of the hardest things for most people is to trust their instincts. They doubt themselves a lot. I've just gotten to a point where I've learned very well. I know myself very well. I know my insides very well. I've learned to trust them. I've learned, and a lot of people doubt that, which is fine. But I've learned the differences in myself of my gut feelings. My parents decided, this is also a little bit of a backstory, but my mother, being the way she is, has decided a long time ago that I had all sorts of mental illnesses and tried to fix me. And one of the ways she tried to fix me was she sent me to a treatment center when I was 13. And I spent 4 years there. And it was probably the best and worst thing ever. It was awful in the sense that I definitely didn't belong there. And they heavily medicated everybody there. In some ways it was worse than prison. In some ways prisoners have more rights than we did. It was not a fun place. However, the flip side to that is I learned a lot of things that people my age now, and I'm 32 now, a lot of people my age or older still haven't learned. I've learned how, like, interpersonal things. Like, I've learned how to let things go. I've learned how to rise above the drama when there's drama happening or things like that. I just, you know what? I'm stepping away from it. I've learned how to be higher than that, which is great, but also hard because most people, and it's not anything against anybody. It's something that most people don't learn until they're my age or older. Like, it's that ability to rise above it and that ability to just be like, you know what? I don't want to have this conversation. It's not a conversation that's going to benefit me. I'm just going to walk away from it. I'm not even going to, like, add to it. I'm just going to walk away. And a lot of people look at that as, you know, weakness. You know, oh, you're just going to walk away from the conversation. Oh, that's mature. Well, yeah, it is, because it's not going to go anywhere. Why am I going to hurt my inner peace for this? There's no point. So things like that I learned from there. I learned at 15 years old sorry, whew, you can't please everybody. So I'm not going to try. This is who I am. This is who I like to be. My closest friends know that I would never go out of my way to hurt anyone's feelings. Um, I don't judge, none of that stuff. And a lot of the times I think, especially in this day and age, to be one of those people that are very blunt and are very secure with themselves and are like that are often misunderstood. We are, called cold. We're called, you know, bitches. We're called all sorts of stuff, right? Because it's not the norm, right? Like, I'm a very direct person. I'm a very honest person. Um, and I know that somebody's always going to be offended by something. So why would I cater to that? Um, and like I said, everybody who, like, one of my favorite quotes is, those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter. I'm a very, very firm believer in that. So, like, my friends know I would never go out of my way to say something to purposely hurt someone's feelings, ever. Like, that's never going to be my intention. But I also know that everyone's going to get offended over something, always. So I don't sugarcoat my stuff. And if I end up hurting someone's feelings, my friends know that they can say something to me, and I will tell them that wasn't my intention at all. Um, do I feel guilty? No. Am I going to feel a little bit bad that I might have hurt someone's feelings? Okay, yeah. It's not my intention to. But I don't, I've learned to not feel guilty for putting up my own boundaries and for saying saying what's on my mind. I don't feel bad for that. And it's very interesting to me that I've gotten to that point because a couple my abilities and my gifts are that I'm an empath, a highly sensitive person, empath, which I struggle with a lot sometimes. I'm a light worker, which I will probably do a whole other thing for that. And I found out, a medium as well, which I'm working on that. And it's interesting because a lot of empaths have a really hard time putting up those boundaries, because empaths feel everything. We feel everyone's emotions. We feel everyone's energies. It's really draining. It's really hard. A lot of empaths feel the need to save the world. They want to save the world because they understand what that feels like. They take on these emotions and they're like, oh my God, that's awful. I want to help you. And the thing about empaths is we have to learn that you can't save the world. If you're going to try to save the world, you're literally going to kill yourself trying mentally. You just can't. So most empaths have a hard time putting up those boundaries, putting up those walls, and learning that it's okay. You can do that. It's not making you a bad person because you can't help this person. Like, you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. I learned that at a very, very young age. And it does. It sometimes puts off the impression that I don't care. And that's not it. It's not that I don't care. It's that I can't allow myself to put that energy out, to care that much. I can't. I have to pick and choose. And it's hard sometimes because I'm still an empath. I'm still a sensitive person. I still want to help everybody, but I know I can't. And so I've learned how to discern who can I help, who can't I help. Am I in the right space to help? Because if you can't help somebody if you're not okay yourself. But those are things that I've learned, but I learned them very young. And I learned them at an age, where most people are still figuring things out. And I don't know. I just learned it. It was forced on me. It was one of those things where I either learn it or don't, or it's going to kill me kind of thing. And I just learned it. And it's really hard for me to try to teach that to people because first, everybody learns it in their own way, in their own time. But I don't even know how I got there. I just did out of necessity. And I don't know. That's all I can say on that. The last thing I was going to talk about was how I've been asked a lot. How did you start your journey? Like, what was it for you that started it for you? For me, I was misdiagnosed with bipolar. Come to find out, it's me being an empath. they're they can be very similar because my moods will change based on people. I've learned to shield myself, but sometimes that fails. Or I think I've shielded myself and I haven't. So, my moods will change. Yeah, because my moods change based on the energies I'm feeling. And when I was a kid and a teenager, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know how to control it. So the best thing my mom thought was, oh, well, something's wrong with you. You must have bipolar. Let's medicate you. And that was her solution. I guess I can't entirely fault her for that, but I have a lot of resentment towards that. That's another issue. But what really got me was, I think it was about 4 years ago now. It was 2016. One thing you need to know about me is, and it sounds weird, I feel wind. And by that I mean there are many different kinds of winds. And it sounds ridiculous saying it, and I realize how ridiculous it sounds, but there's different, I don't even know how to explain it. There's different winds. So there's winds where something's coming. There's winds where something's wrong. There's winds where everything's great and it's just a wind. There's things where it's not actually wind. It's a spirit, or it's a this, or it's a that. And I honestly don't even know how to begin to explain that, but it's something I know and I feel. And I've always had that. And always. Like, I've always been able to tell that. As a kid and a teen, I never really knew didn't know that's what it was, but I knew the feelings. And my mood will change on a dime based on the wind, because I feel a wind and I'm like, oh God, this is happening, or this is going to happen, or something's this, and it's intense. I don't know how to explain it. But this one particular day, I came home from, I think it was grocery shopping or something, or picking kids up from school or something. And I remember I was perfectly fine, just hanging out, doing my thing. And I got out of the car, and I was walking up. I have like little stairs that leads up to my front door, and I was walking up them, and I just had this like rush, this gust of wind that just came out of nowhere and like literally hit me in the back of my back, just right in my back, just, and it put me into such a bad, I went into a complete panic attack, and I couldn't breathe. It knocked the wind out of me. I couldn't breathe. I was hyperventilating. Told the kids, go inside, just stay there. And I just remember I was panicking. I couldn't breathe. I could not catch my breath. I tried calling my husband at work, but he worked at Walmart at the time, and he worked in the back room, and the cell reception wasn't great. Couldn't get a hold of him. I was freaking out. It probably was only a matter of minutes, felt like hours to me. I ended up posting a status about it on my Facebook, because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. I need someone to help me. And some person on my Facebook, who I must have been like a random ad that I didn't even know was on my Facebook, ended up messaging me. And she was able to kind of distract me and calm me down. And then once I was calm, we started chatting. And she's like, okay, well, what happened? And I told her, I was like, this sounds ridiculous, but this is what happened. And we started chatting, and it came up that she was actually medium herself. And I told her everything that was happening, and eventually we got into my past, and she suggested that I was probably an empath and probably very much a highly sensitive person, or HSP is the abbreviation for that. And then just as she was talking, everything she was saying was hitting me, right? I was like, oh my God, you're right. It all made sense to me. It clicked. I managed to calm down, and that's kind of where I started, sort of. I didn't really go full force on it, but I started kind of researching it myself and looking into it, and it's like, holy crap, look at this whole world that I didn't even know existed. I knew it existed, clearly, but I had no idea. I just didn't have any idea how big it was. And that's kind of where I started. That's where it really started becoming clear to me that there are things like being an empath. There are things like mediumship, and oh my god, there's so many different kinds of mediumship. Don't even get me started. I still don't exactly know what kind I am. I'm still kind of figuring that out. But that's kind of where it started for me. And then I didn't really take it too seriously at first. I kind of like, oh, that's cool. This is what I am, sweet. I didn't really look too much into it. So like a year later, and I ended up getting, I didn't know where to start. I know, so I hear that a lot from people. I refuse to use the term baby witch. I'm sorry, it drives me nuts. But people who are, new to the craft. I just don't know where to start. Everybody feels like that in the beginning. I didn't know where to start either. I was like, oh my god, okay, I'm an empath. What does that mean? Where do I go? What I did, and I don't even remember why I did it, but what I started was I got myself an oracle deck, actually. Right here. So oracle and tarot are two different things, but kind of the same thing. From the way it was explained to me, I don't know where my tarot deck is. I think my tarot deck might still be in my bedroom. My bad. Huh. Anywho, yeah, I'm not really sure what I did with my tarot deck. But this is my oracle deck. It's called Earth Magic. So oracle readings are generally more broad. They'll just give you kind of a more broad, vague explanation. Tarot is more specific. It's actually going to drive me nuts that I don't know where my tarot deck is. Okay, problem for another time. But I got my oracle. I didn't know that there was a difference at the time. I just went to the store. We have a local little witchy store here. Went there. It called to me. I picked it up. I got a tingly sensation. I was like, this is mine. This is what I need to grab. And I grabbed it. It's a beautiful deck, by the way. It's gorgeous. But I like the earth. I'm Capricorn. I'm very much an earthbound person. But yeah, so like these are just, I don't know if you can see, but they're so beautiful. They're gorgeous, and that's the back. And so I just kind of started with this, and I started using them, and I don't want to use the word term playing around with them because they're not really a game, but that's where I started. It is, and then it comes with a little book. In the beginning, I was very reliant. I relied heavily on my book. Now I try to use my intuition first, and if I need a little help, I go to my book. The interesting thing is I started to use them. And one of the very first things I noticed is I continuously got the card. It's a card where I interpret it as, it's an altar card. It's offerings and altar. And it kept telling me, you know what, you need to build an altar, you need to build an altar, you need to build an altar, you need to build an altar. Every single reading that I would do, I'd get that same exact card every time. It did not matter what I was doing the reading for. It didn't matter what my question was or my concern was. It did not matter. Every single reading I would get this stupid card. It would keep popping up. It would keep popping up. It would keep popping up. And I was like, oh my God, fine. And so I started very small. This is my altar behind me now. But I literally just, my husband got, one of our little tables, set it up, put a sheet over it. That was it. Put my cards on it. Decorated it a little bit. I never got that card again. And not never. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've got it a few times, but not in that context. I've never once again got, build an altar. It was never like that. Tarot card readers will get what I mean by that. But I actually rarely ever get that card anymore, actually. I've gotten a few times, but never, not like that. So I did eventually. It's those little things like that, where, I start to take notice of signs like that. And now I have, as you can see, my husband found me this gorgeous, vanity mirror thing. And I've slowly but surely got more things. And, now I have this table, and I change it based on Sabbats that are coming up or festivals, or I try anyway, decorate it for different things. Everyone does their altars differently. It's really no right or wrong way of doing them. But that's what I started. I started by getting oracle cards. I don't recommend, I'm not saying do that, but I'm saying listen to what your gut tells you. That's what my gut told me. Not said start here. And now that I've had them, now I have a tarot deck as well, and I understand more about it, and I know how to use them better, and I know how to use my intuition. But that's where I started, and I didn't know what I was doing. But that's where I started, and you learn these things. You figure it out as you go. You learn what to do. Definitely learn what not to do. It's a learning thing. I've also been asked what kind of witch I am. So I don't even know how to pronounce it, to be honest, but I pick and choose. I don't follow one path. I am, a lot of the things I do and I believe in are Wiccan related, inspired. I don't like religion. That's my personal thing. Being a cradle Catholic my whole life, it has turned me off from religion, personally. Wicca is, by definition, a religion. So I'm reluctant to say I'm Wiccan, because I just don't do religion. But a lot of the things that I follow are very Wiccan related. I'm very much earthbound. I like to use the elements. I like to bring in, like the elements of water and air, and earth, specifically fire. As you can see, I like to light my candles. I always like to have a fire going of some sort while I'm doing stuff. I do follow a lot of the Wiccan beliefs and things like that, but they're not all Wiccan. But that's kind of me, and that's kind of how I got started on this whole thing. I realized I was a medium because my work is very active. Probably another story for another time, but very active. The building is older than I am. Lots of different things have taken place there. So that's kind of where I realized that I can sense things like that. But I guess I just kind of wanted to do a longer video. It's been like 40, almost 50 minutes now. Just kind of like put it out there. This is how I got started. This is how my experiences and stuff like that. I remember now why I brought up the treatment center I went to. The reason I brought that up was because that's kind of what led me into realizing I was a light worker, which I didn't even know was a thing until about 2 years ago. But everyone has always come to me. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I don't even like people. I don't know why people come to me. But they do. When I was in, it was called Heritage. When I was at Heritage in Provo, Utah. So if anyone watching that went there, I feel your pain. But everybody did. Everybody kind of gravitated towards me. I was like the second therapist almost. And even now people do it to me. I get people messaging me and they're like, I don't know why, but I felt the need to tell you this. Or I don't know why, but I felt like I could tell you this and you wouldn't judge me. And I'm just like, yeah, well, that's kind of what I do. Because I don't. Like, I try very hard not to judge people. I'm very much, I don't judge you unless there's a reason to. If you're an awful person, well, I'm going to judge you a little bit. But people have always come to me. They've always been like, unload themselves on me. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a good listener. I don't know if it's just because I get it. Like, I have been through a lot myself and I can understand. I don't know, but my whole life, pretty much since 14, 15 and up, people always come to me. People always ask, can I vent to you? And I'm like, yeah. And it's weird because it takes a lot to overwhelm me with that. I don't know why. It does happen. Eventually, it's just too much. And I'm like, okay, you're done. I can't right now. Or, stuff like that. Or I'll have to be like, I'm not in the space right now. I can't help you. I'm trying to help myself. Get back to me. But I don't know. For some reason, it's just, I don't know if it's just because I see things differently. I don't know. But I've always been able to, if you just need to talk, I'll just listen. I don't have to say anything. If you want my opinion, you know what? I can give it to you. Just be wary that I don't really sugarcoat things, so be aware of that. And I kind of do case by case basis, right? Sometimes I'm a little nicer about things because I feel like I need to be a little nicer about it. Other times I'm just like, okay, here it is. If you don't like it, not my problem. You asked. So I have to kind of base it on cases, but people have always come to me. People have always asked me things, and and if I don't know or have any idea, I'll tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you. I don't know. I've never experienced that. Um, I'll try to find out something for you, but I can't promise anything. That's my whole light worker thing, empath, and probably sensitive person thing, and then mediumship, which I'm the one that I'm working on right now because oh my god, I can always feel they're there. I don't know how to talk to them yet. That's my personal thing that I'm working on right now. I think that's really all I gotta say for this first one. I will probably do one. I'm gonna try to do one like maybe once a week or whenever I feel the need to. Kind of see how this one goes because, like I said, I'm really not. I don't feel like I'm good at these things. And it's also easier to do a video and say it than try to type it out because that takes forever. Yeah, I think that's it. So I guess, if you can comment, or I don't know how YouTube works, if you can message people or not, but yeah, okay. So if it was at all helpful or whatever, if you want to leave me a message letting me know that'd be great because I don't know. I don't think I do very well at these things. So until the next time, I guess. This will be all.